Not sure if you need to submit a tax return? You're not alone. This is one of the most common questions people ask, especially if your income has changed or you've started earning money in different ways. The tricky part is it's not always obvious. You might think everything's already sorted through your job, but that's not always the case. And if you're supposed to submit a tax return and don't realise it, that's when penalties from HMRC can start adding up. My name is Jack Rivers, and in this video I'm going to help you figure out whether you actually need to file a tax return and walk you through the key types of income that trigger it. The easiest way to think about tax returns is this. You usually need to submit one when you have income that hasn't already been taxed. Simple. So if you're employed and everything you earn goes through PAYE, your tax is typically handled automatically. You get paid, tax is deducted, and there's nothing else you need to do. But as soon as you start earning income outside of that system, that's when a tax return comes into play. And this is where a lot of people get caught out, especially if they've started something on the side or have multiple income streams. One of the biggest triggers is self-employment. If you're earning money on the side, whether that's freelancing, consulting, selling products, or even just a small side hustle, there's a key threshold to be aware of. Once your income goes over £1,000 in a tax year, you're expected to register for self-assessment and submit a tax return. And that's not £1,000 profit, it's the money you receive before expenses. Now, a lot of people think it's just a bit of extra cash, it doesn't count, but it absolutely does. HMRC doesn't really care whether it's your main job or something you do in the evenings, it's still taxable income. Another common situation is if you're running a limited company. If you're a director, especially if you're paying yourself through dividends as well as salary, you'll almost always need to file a tax return. Even if your income feels straightforward, the structure of how you're paid means it needs to be reported. Then there's higher earners. Once your income goes above £100,000, you're required to submit a tax return regardless of whether all that income is taxed through PAYE. This often surprises people because they assume everything is sorted through their employer, but at that level, HMRC requires a return. There are a few other situations that regularly catch people out because they don't always feel like obvious reasons to submit a tax return. A big one is child benefit. If you or your partner receive child benefit and your income goes over £60,000, you may need to submit a tax return to deal with what's called the high income child benefit charge. What often happens is people keep receiving the payments, not realising there's a tax charge building up in the background. And the only way to report and pay that is through a tax return. Rental income is another really common trigger. If you own a property and you're renting it out, you get a £1,000 property allowance. But once your income goes above that, it needs to be declared. And it's not just long-term rentals either. This can include short-term lets and Airbnb style income. You also need to be careful if you're renting out a room in your house, as while the allowance is higher at £7,500, as soon as you go above this, you have to file a return. Investments are another area where people often aren't sure. If you're receiving dividends from shares, earning interest from savings, or selling assets and making a gain, you do get certain tax-free allowances. But once you go over those limits, HMRC expects you to report that income. And because a lot of this doesn't go through PAYE, it's your responsibility to declare it. If you've received income from investments and you're not sure if you need to submit a return, it's important you speak to an accountant so they can advise you. Then there's foreign income, which can get a bit more complex. If you're earning money from overseas, whether that's from property, investments, or work done abroad, you may still need to report it in the UK. Even if tax has already been paid in another country, it doesn't automatically mean there's nothing to do here, and there is an area where people often assume they're covered when they're not. Lastly, there's the state pension, which often causes confusion. Receiving it on its own doesn't mean you need to file a tax return, but it is paid without any tax being deducted. If you also have other income that isn't taxed at source, like rental income or dividends, it can mean you need to submit a return to report everything properly. So while the state pension itself isn't the trigger, it can contribute to a situation where a tax return is required. On the flip side, there are plenty of situations where you don't need to file a tax return, and people often overcomplicate this. If you're employed, your income is taxed through PAYE, and you don't have any significant additional income, there's a good chance you don't need to do anything at all. Even if you have a bit of savings interest or small amounts of dividends, these can sometimes be handled through your tax code instead of a full tax return, or they don't need to be declared at all if they are within certain allowances. So it's not just about earning money, it's about the type of income and whether HMRC already knows about it and has taxed it. If you do need to submit a tax return, timing is really important. You need to register by the 5th of October following the end of the tax year, and the main deadline for online filing is the 31st of January. Miss that deadline even by a day and you're into automatic penalties, which can build up quickly if left unresolved. If you're not sure whether you need to submit a tax return, it's always better to check early rather than leave it too late. So message us or contact our offices today to get ahead of it. And that's it for this video. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe for weekly tax tips and updates.